you. So in this first episode, we're going to be talking about the concepts in the first place. Why should you be writing your story in the first place? How should you be doing it? How can you get started? Where's the urge? And what's the importance and the relevance of it? Next week, welcome to the Boss Ladies Mindset channel, powered by Crown for Success, the largest women's empowerment network for soulful CEOs on social media. We are a coaching business that mentors and motivates women to reach their highest potential in business and mindset mastery. Each one of our episodes will share valuable tips, resources, interviews, and empowering information that will help boss ladies design a life and business they're crazy as fuck about. Hello. I am Dr. Rena Al-Falaki. I am your host for the next 3 Sundays. And we are going to be talking about telling your story and book writing. But before I go into that, I better tell you a little bit about who I am. So I am a core energy coach. I help executives and leaders exude passion. I help women get more by doing less, turning the wanting into having. I'm also the #1 international best-selling author of Women Who Have More, How to Create a Balanced and Fulfilled Life, and Be More, a conscious shift to birthing the future. So do I feel equipped to talk to you about your story and how we can convey it and how to write your book? Yes, 100%. And I should of course say I am privileged and honored Vice President for Crown for Success. So 3 Sundays, 3 things to talk about, which obviously I'm going to break down for you. So in this first episode, we're going to be talking about the concepts in the first place. Why should you be writing your story in the first place? How should you be doing it? How can you get started? Where's the urge? And what's the importance and the relevance of it? Next week, we'll break that down into a little bit more detail. So very much about exactly how to get started, how to write a book in a weekend or a couple of days if needs be. Where on earth do you start? Where do you finish? Who are you writing for? And how do you turn your book and your story into a marketing resource? So really powerful. And in the final week, we're going to take you through beyond the first draft. So what on earth do you do with the book at the end? Once you've written that first draft, how do you get it published? How do you market it? How do you use it? So much to talk about and not that much time. So we better get started. So I'm just looking down a little bit because I made some notes. This is really important. I don't want to miss anything for you. So I think the first thing to tell you about is a little bit about my story. Obviously, I've told you what it is I do, and it matches my book, right? I told you that I am somebody who helps professional women, leaders, and entrepreneurs get more by doing less, right? Which means my book matches what it is I do. My book is called Women Who Want More. So it matches my purpose and my passions. And that really was my story. I was a woman who wanted more. I never felt completely fulfilled. I never felt balanced at all. There was always something missing in my life. I would get what I want and then realize that wasn't enough. I never took enough time to celebrate those moments, and then would try and then get more and more. And I just had one project after the next with no balance at all until I burnt myself into the ground. I mean, I tell my whole story very much in my book, and it's really quite an emotional one of someone who came from really years and years of different types of abuse, failed, poor relationships, constantly repeating the same patterns in my life again and again and again, and an awful lot of tragedies, and never really having a voice at all. I mean, if someone asked me how I felt about something, I would just completely clam up in my throat. I could never even tell you, but at the same time, always incredibly successful in my career. So, I mean, obviously, you know, my story is I got way past it. You know, I healed myself. I got through a chronic illness, because at what point was I going to awaken? So in the end, my body slowed down as well to force me to do that. And I really wanted to share my story in order to empower and inspire other people like me, because it's a story so many of us can relate to. And it wasn't a typical poor kid makes it rich story. It was somebody who grew up in a middle class family with very successful parents, and yet, you know what, life is real. We all have stories to tell, and that happened to be mine. And it was a way of me giving purpose to everything that had happened to me. So it went from happening to me to happening for me. Because in that, yes, it was a healing process for me, but in that I've been able to help so many women. So that's just a brief little inkling of my story. But I mean, if you go to my website, lightchangescoaching.com, you can read a bit more about it. And obviously there's plenty about it in the book in a lot more detail, which, like I said, I use that to help to inspire others. So that's a little bit about me. If we're going to be spending the next 3 Sundays together, I thought maybe you should know about that. But like I said, so for me, for years I had this overwhelming desire to write a book. You know, I would sit there and I would tell stories to many of my colleagues, and they would either be laughing or crying. And I remember them saying to me, "You should really write a book about this stuff." It's like, yeah, I should, but how on earth do I get started? Where can you even begin? But I knew it was in me. And so the first thing I did was ask the question. You know, I laid down the intention, which I do every new year. I journal about, and I set my intentions for the year. Okay, this year I'm going to write my book. I didn't know what the book was going to be about. I didn't know how it was going to formulate. I remember because I travel a lot, I lecture and speak internationally. I'd be on airplanes meditating. Ideas would pop into my head about the structure of this book and how it was going to work out. I bought books about writing books, but just starting to do that means I set the ball rolling energetically. I started to think about it. I started to surround myself with information about it. And sure enough, when we put our attention on something, the universe provides things for us, or we should say our energy shifts within us to pay attention to other things. So what would happen is on my feeds and on my emails, I would started to receive all kinds of information about how to write books, about book writing webinars, about book writing workshops. All these things started to pop up so I could find out more and more information. So I set the ball rolling by setting the intention. So that's probably the first big tip I'd give you, is if you want to write a story, if you want to tell your story, and remember, this is an incredibly powerful tool to complement what it is you do and who you are, because in today's world of marketing, and we're going to talk a lot more about this in episode 3, in today's world of marketing and leadership, it's not the old style credentials, it's your story. People will be buying from you. People will be coming to pay for services from you because of who you are, combined with what you have to offer. So your story is so powerful, but we're going to talk more about that in episode 3. But like I said, so I set the intention. So number 1 tip, big tip for you, write it down, please. Set the intention to write my story, or to write my book, however you want to say it. So that is the first thing I would tell you. And the second thing, I will just explain a little bit more. So I had this desire, I set this intention. A lot of people said to me, was it cathartic for you? In other words, was it a therapy for me to share my story with other people, to write my book? Strangely enough, it wasn't, but that's because I think I had processed it in so many other ways beforehand that when it came to write the book, it stopped being about me and it started being about a way of serving others. And again, we're going to talk more about this in next week's episode, about service and what's in it for me and cathartic. And I'm going to tell you exactly what it is you need to do to make sure that you write the story or the book ultimately so that someone else can benefit. This isn't about you, even though it is about you. It's about your story, but it's also how what you've been through can benefit others. So for example, with me, an extremely professional woman, an international speaker, a coach, I run my own business, I've had multi-award winning businesses, I've been very successful, I've doubled the turnover of my clinic before I sold it. In other words, if I can get all that across in my story, it gives me credentials and credibility and an offering to the people who are my clients. Because otherwise, why should they listen to me if I haven't been through it before? So it allows you the opportunity to be of service. So the next thing I want you to write down is this phrase. We call it WIFM, WIFFM, WIFM. What's in it for me? Oh, I got that wrong, didn't I? WIIFM. What's in it for me? WIFM. So the WIFM is something to contemplate when you lay down your intention that you want to write your story and tell your story, and we've talked about a little bit about the reasons why you would do that, to be of service and to market yourself and to become the expert in your field. So we're thinking about the clients that we want to attract as well, or create in our businesses. But what is going to be in it for the reader? Why should the reader be reading about your story? So you want to put that out there in your intentions. And again, the answers will start to come. So a couple more points I wanted to cover. Firstly, in telling your story, I think a really great way to do it is in a very conversational way. It depends on your writing style. You could decide to go really, really hardcore, but it's a good idea to write it in a conversational way to engage the reader. And then it doesn't just have to be your story. It could be other people's stories to give you credibility. So start collecting other stories. So obviously we have our big overall story about our life, like I've shared with you. But then I go on in my book to share examples. So for example, I have a chapter on abundance and making money and setting your money mindset. And so in that, I then share stories about what my money mindset was like, what my clients' money mindsets was like, and also how I helped them and myself make more money. So in that, it becomes a testimonial. Now, testimonials are one of the biggest ways of selling your business. So you're including these testimonials in your book by telling other people's stories. So the same thing, I've got a chapter there on health, and it's the same thing, how I overcame a chronic illness, and also how I help my clients do the same with weight loss, the same with finding a desire to exercise, the same with leadership and running your own business. So I tell all kinds of other people's stories as well. So start collecting stories, little anecdotes, your own anecdotes, and anecdotes about the people you know and the people you work with. Again, next week we'll talk about, how to make it anonymous, or if you need to get permissions and so on and so forth. But that is going to be incredibly, incredibly powerful in your book, because here's the thing. This is the biggest thing, if you take nothing else from this session today. Are you listening? People need to relate. You are not going to remember facts. You are going to remember stories. And that's it. When you turn this video off and you think about, who is that person? Rana Al-Falaki, can't quite pronounce her name, but in case you don't recognize the voice, I'm the voice of the intro and outro for these videos as well. But you'll be thinking, oh yeah, she was that one who talked about women wanting more and about how she had all this hardship but proved herself. That's what you're going to remember, not all the fine details. And so that, my friends, is why writing a book to launch your business or launch yourself as the expert, or to be of service and have that extra thing in your tool belt, as well as be cathartic for yourself and a way of sharing with the world, that is why all of that is going to be so, so powerful. So those are kind of the concepts. Those are the reasons why we may decide to write a book. And if you think you're not a writer, but you have a need to share and service, next week I'm going to tell you exactly how you can still get your book written. So a few little teasers for you for next week. I'm going to take you through the whole process of start to finish, pen or keyboard to paper, how we get that first draft written, what the message needs to be, how it needs to be structured, who you're writing it for, who can help you to write it if you don't think you're a writer yourself. And then of course in episode 3, like I said, we'll take you from that first draft to beyond. But for now, I think that's pretty much enough for you to go by. So just start setting the intentions, be clear on the reason why, and think with them, and the answers will come. So I want you to start sharing in the comments if you've got a plan to write a book, and if you do, what for, or if you have any questions. I will keep my eye out on this video and I will comment and help you conceptualize. Okay, so once again, I am Dr. Al-Falaki, author of Women Who Want More, founder of Light Changes Coaching. That's where you can find me. Best place to find me, reach out to me on my website, lightchangescoaching.com. And I also have a YouTube channel, Light Changes Coaching. So you'll find me. I'm around. What can I say? I've told a story and it's put me all over the world, and it will do the same for you. So please feel free, in fact, not even feel free, but please do hit the subscribe button at the bottom of this screen so that you'll know when not only my video is coming up, but when we have so much more wealth of information from so many other RVPs for Crown for Success about all kinds of different topics, which I know you'll find fascinating. But for now, have a great week. I'll see you next week. Have your pen and paper ready. Thank you so much for tuning into the Boss Ladies Mindset channel powered by Crown for Success. Please tune in next week for another episode, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at rvpqueens, at The Girl Gang Confidential, at Crown for Success, at Strong Women Are Beautiful, and of course at Boss Ladies Mindset.